For decades, the medical establishment pictured attention deficit hyperactivity disorder in one way: a hyperactive young boy who couldn't sit still in a classroom. That narrow definition left an entire generation of adults, especially women and those with high intellect, moving through life misunderstood and undiagnosed. As these individuals age, the classic symptom of hyperactivity rarely disappears. It transmutes inward. Physical restlessness becomes an internalized state of chronic agitation, a motor that won't shut off, creating an exhaustion born of relentless cognitive friction. High IQ maskers often go decades without a diagnosis by using raw cognitive processing power to artificially compensate for their lack of working memory. They essentially brute force their way through academic degrees and professional milestones. This creates a fraudulent cycle. On the outside, they appear successful and capable. On the inside, they are drowning in the effort required to mimic neurotypical executive function, hiding their severe burnout and the haunting sense that they are failing to meet their true potential. Decoding the survival strategies these adults rely on requires understanding this invisible weight. Without acknowledging the massive daily effort of masking, their behaviors look like a series of irrational, disconnected quirks. Consider the wall of awful. This is a massive, invisible emotional barrier that blocks the initiation of a task, regardless of how much the person wants to complete it. It is a neurological bottleneck, distinct from a lack of discipline. The average adult makes 35,000 daily micro-decisions. For a neurotypical brain, these choices are automated, but for the ADHD brain, every decision requires active processing, leading directly to choice paralysis. The brain frantically calculates every step until the entire system gridlocks. This gridlock is fueled by time blindness. For the ADHD brain, time is experienced as a binary construct. There is only now and not now. The ability to perceive the linear flow of minutes and hours is effectively offline. This creates waiting mode. If an appointment is scheduled for 4 p.m., the individual often feels a visceral, physical sense that there is no time to do anything else at 9 a.m. They repeatedly check the clock and the location, entering a state of hyperarousal directed solely at the future event to ensure it isn't forgotten. Because the body treats that impending schedule requirement as a high-stakes threat, the autonomic nervous system enters a freeze response. It shuts down all other cognitive processes as a defense mechanism against the anxiety of potential failure, leaving the individual physically and mentally stuck. The adult ADHD brain often lacks an environmental filter. Minor background stimuli, the high-pitched fluorescent hum or a scratchy clothing tag, are processed by the nervous system as physical, aggressive assaults, causing profound discomfort. This sensitivity is paradoxical. While a dripping faucet can cause dysregulation, a massively chaotic environment, like a noisy cafe, can lead to hyperfocus. The high level of background noise occupies the dopamine-seeking parts of the brain, allowing the primary executive function to lock onto a task. Many adopt the T-Rex arms posture to manage this overstimulation. Tucking the elbows against the torso and raising the forearms provides a sense of physical containment and proprioceptive feedback, creating a comforting boundary in an environment that feels overwhelmingly expansive. Internal clutter often manifests as doom piles, didn't organize, only moved. Because of object impermanence, items placed in drawers effectively cease to exist. Keeping stacks of mail and projects in the visual field is a survival strategy to keep important tasks from being deleted from working memory. This same object impermanence creates a friendship trap. An individual may go 6 months without calling a loved one, not because of a lack of affection, but because the brain fails to generate the internal cues required to reach out. To the ADHD adult, the relationship exists in stasis until an external trigger brings it to the forefront. These environmental rules, doom piles, and communication gaps function as desperate architectural strategies to keep the physical and social world from vanishing from working memory. They are the scaffolding required to maintain a functional life. The brute force masking used to survive the 20s and 30s eventually hits a hard biological limit. As individuals reach their 40s, the energy required to artificially maintain focus begins to evaporate. For women and those assigned female at birth, this collision coincides with perimenopause. This transition involves violent fluctuations and an eventual drop in estrogen levels. This chart shows why those hormone shifts are destructive. Estrogen promotes the release of dopamine, the neurotransmitter regulating attention. When estrogen levels drop during perimenopause, the underlying dopamine deficit is exacerbated, removing the final chemical support pillar for the brain's executive function. This leads to a total masking collapse. Functioning adults who managed high-level careers for decades find themselves paralyzed by brain fog. Working memory disintegrates, and the ability to manage household schedules or professional projects simply vanishes. The lifelong quirks and eventual collapse of the ADHD experience represent the highly logical biological responses of a nervous system fighting for equilibrium. Recognizing this biology is the first step toward trading internal shame for structural self-advocacy and self-compassion.